and welcome to the cover design lecture. So in this lecture, we're going to work more on cover design and revamp our cover design to look way better than it is right now. So in this lecture, we are going to use not just Affinity Publisher, we're going to actually use some photo personas as well, just to make a minor tweaks. This will not be any major tweaks. So we don't have Affinity Photo. Don't worry, it will not pose you a huge problems, but to have an Affinity Photo will help you a lot as well. Otherwise, you can go and adjust all the levels that we adjusted in the other software and then import it back to the Affinity Publisher. So what we want right now is what I will try to do is to transform this book cover into something more appealing, something more I would not say photorealistic, but something more photo looking. And to start this, you know what? I'm gonna just make everything disappear. I'm not gonna delete everything. I'm just make everything disappear, and we'll have a blank page. And to start up, I want some good background. I was thinking about the wooden background because I like working with wood. It looks very beautiful. And let's add this wood texture on the background just like that. I'm gonna drag and drop this from the stock. I'm just gonna zoom out. I'm gonna resize this to have an exact size of the page, and then I'm just gonna squeeze it if I want. No, actually now squeezing does not work that good. I'm gonna do this just like that and center it just like that. All I do is move in and out with a mouse. Okay, this looks pretty good. It's actually a bit too bright and not contrasty enough for my taste, but we are gonna work on this a bit later. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna take this image and I'm gonna drag and drop it. I'm gonna click the thumbnail and drag and drop the thumbnail on the bottom of the layers because I want this to be a bottom layer and I don't want this to be moved. So what I will do, I will right click this one and I will click the lock. So now I cannot move it no matter what I do. So it is locked in there. Okay, what I want right now is I want to add Affinity Publisher logo in the middle. So I have assets already installed. So I have an icon added into the Affinity Publisher asset. So what I will do is I will drag and drop it right here. I will make it a bit smaller and I will click it, put it somewhere right here. So it's pretty good. Not in the center, a bit above the center. It looks pretty good. I will make my text and my Affinity Publisher text visible again. Okay, it looks not that great because the black text is not that great. And what I will do is I will do a bit one difference. I'm gonna go and switch to artistic text tool, click on the beginning of the publisher and press enter. I just want them on the separate lines. Go back to the selection tool back and then let's make it align to the center. No, you know what? I think it's aligned to the left is looking pretty good. I'm gonna do this just like that. It's way too on the corner and yep, all the alignments is going pretty well. It's actually aligned to the center of this one. And what we'll do right now to make it a bit more visible, we're going to transform it to the white. And as you can see, it looks pretty good. I actually like how it looks. And you know what I will do? I will actually group those two together. I'm going to drag and drop just like that. And what I will do is I will right click it and I will actually group them together because I want them to work together. Because if I want to move them, I will just select a group and I will group them just like that, move it around the center. And you can actually expand the group and it works actually as a separate layers if you want. So group is pretty good. You can rename it if you want, but I'm not gonna do this just right now. I'm gonna take my by Nick Nixon back. Actually, I'm gonna increase it a bit in size and again, it's black. It does not look that good. And I'm going to go to the artistic text tool back and I'm going to delete word by because I want this text to be on the top, just like that. I'm going to center it to the page margin. It's okay. And I'm going to transform it to the white. It actually looks pretty good. I'm going to move it just a tiny bit down. It looks pretty good. And now because we actually did it, now this Affinity Publisher text is way too on the top. I'm going to move it a bit down, just right here. It looks pretty good. Don't worry about the colors, etc. We're going to work on the colors a bit later. Then I'm going to return the triangle back because I like how the triangle looks. And I'm going to return the text. Everything that you need to know about Affinity Publisher. I'm going to make the text a bit larger. I'm going to again center this to the page or to the page margin. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to make this text white. I can actually make the text a bit further, just like that. Actually looks pretty good, way better than we had, right? But text is a bit difficult to read. It's a bit sore to an eye. So what we need to do is, because we have white text on a bit bright background, we need to make background darker. In order to do this, we're gonna go switch to the photo persona. You can make again this picture darker beforehand, but we're gonna do this just right now. We're gonna switch back to the photo persona, go to the adjustments, and you know what I will do? I will go to the contrast and brightness. I'm gonna select the contrast and brightness. I'm gonna decrease the brightness a bit. I'm gonna increase the contrast as well, just like that. You know what? I'm gonna increase the contrast almost all the way to the top and increase brightness just a bit. This looks way cooler than it did before. As you can see, the text is clearly visible. Text is a bit bland actually, and we need more separations from the background as well. So we'll do just like that. Let's go switch back to the Affinity Publisher persona, because we can do this in Publisher persona easily as well. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on Affinity Publisher text now, because I will apply some effects on it to make it look a bit better. What we'll do is we're gonna go switch to effects panel just right here, and the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna add an outline to the text, make it a bit bigger, just a bit. It's barely visible. You cannot see it, but you can see it just like that. And as you can see, it really separates it from the background. We will gonna make some more separations here as well. I'm gonna zoom it in to make it more visible. So what we'll do after this, we're gonna add an inner shadow inside of our text. We're gonna increase the radius. It's not that visible. It's actually very subtle, but if I will increase it a lot, you see that it actually makes some kind of shadow and actually makes it more volumetric look, more like silvery color on it. And we're gonna add an outer shadow as well. First, the thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna make an offset just like that. And as you can see, it's not that visible. I'm gonna increase the radius just to make it more washed out. It's not that visible, but it actually allows you to separate it from the background just a bit more. We can actually increase the offset just a bit to make it more separate from the background. And as you can see already, the title text looks way better than anything else. And what we want is to apply the same effects to the other text as well, right? So how we can do that? Do all over again? No, all we need to do is gonna go to the layers, gonna select the text, right click, copy, or Control C if you want, then select the text that you want, go to the edit and paste effects, or Alt Shift V if you want to do this inside. Boom. And it actually applied every single thing on the top of this one. But because the text is a bit different, the thickness of the text is a bit different, it actually looks a bit different as well. So what we're gonna do is adjust some effects. In this case, we're gonna adjust an offset of the shadows just a bit, and it looks actually a bit better. You can see the shadows like that, and we're gonna decrease the radius to make it more pronounced. Yep, it looks a bit better. Then do the same with this text as well. We are going to paste effects here as well. As you can see, it's already pronounced from the background, but we're gonna work on outer shadow here as well. Just make it offset just a bit more, or you can go and do with an offset tool and just move it however you want. So we're gonna move it just like right here, and go to the back to selection tool. It looks way better than it did before, right? It looks way better. What we'll do after this, we're gonna work on the logo, Affinity Publisher logo, just a bit. Go to the photo persona just to fix it up a bit. Go to the adjustments, and we are going to adjust this with the curves. So we're gonna apply the curves, and I'm gonna move curve just like here, and I'm gonna move this curves a bit here, and this curves a bit here. I'm gonna move it down. Oh, it was too much. I'm gonna move it just like that, back right here, because I like this type of curve. It makes it look a bit better, just like a bit more darker tint to it. You can see it if I will make this disappear. This is before, this is after. It makes it more contrasty, makes it looks just a tiny bit better. Now we're gonna do some effects on our triangle, because we don't want this to be as a flat triangle. We want to give it a bit of volume. But this is a better tool for the volume than outer shadow. We're gonna make it offset right here, triangle it, and as you can see, if we'll do this a bit washed out, increase the radius. I'm gonna increase offset a bit more and increase radius a bit more as well. You see that it's something like covering it, and it looks way cooler than it did before. It's a very cool thing. We can actually go and do rasterize and trim, and you know what it will do? It's going to preserve the layer effects, and it will trim everything from here. And we can add a inner shadow from this side. We can do the angle right here and do the offset just a bit and increase the radius a bit. And as you can see, it's something like that. It's something like it's light color shines from this one, and the edge itself is the blocking light, and then the ribbon itself is blocking the light. And as you can see, the before and after, we didn't actually save the before, but it looks way better than it did before, like million times better. Just a small things like that, and the small vision in your head, just a very tiny vision in your head, will help you transform your book cover into something else. You know what? I'm gonna do one more thing with an icon right here. I'm just gonna collapse it down. I'm gonna apply another effects here and do an outer shadow because I like just using outer shadow. Same direction as the Affinity Publisher, a bit more offset, just like that, and a bit more radius, just for the Affinity Publisher logo to have its tiny flare as well. The majority of the things that we did cannot be visible just by looking at it, but your brain actually feels it. Your brain can actually distinguish the shadows, the inner shadows. It can distinguish and makes it look way better. That's the tiniest thing that we did, and it made our book look way better than it actually did. Remember this, our blue triangle? Yeah, you can see the shadow more pronounced on a blue triangle, but we could actually add some outer glows and some different effects that we actually learned about in the previous lectures, but we just didn't need it. This is the style that we came up with, and it actually looks amazing. And I'm really interested in what type of styles that you can do as well. Just play around with it. Play with the different ideas, play with the different styles, play with effects, play with the adjustments you have in Affinity Photo and the full photo persona, and it will just make it look way better. Again, if you don't have an Affinity Photo and you cannot use the photo persona, you just can adjust everything beforehand in another software and just edit afterwards. Like you can adjust it in Canva if you want, or any other software of your choice. You know, Photoshop, if maybe you have a Photoshop and you're an avid Photoshop user. Well, this should be it for this lecture. Let's go to the next one then.